Let's make the room itself. So we can create a new layer. Name it walls. And I'm gonna freeze the layer with the kitchen cabinets. Alright, then I'm gonna unfreeze the plants layer as well. So let's start from the top view. I'm gonna draw one large rectangle like this. And another one for the inner wall. Let's convert one of them to editable spline and attach them together. Right. Let's shift plus rotate it like this and move over here. Now I'm gonna add an extrude modifier and try to match the height with my drawings. So it looks like it's even 300 centimeters high. Right, let's delete that. Okay. So now we need to cut out our doors and windows. Okay, so let's start with the door. Okay, I'm going to position it right here. Make sure you rotate your room correctly. And now I'm going to draw an outline of the inner door frame. Okay, let's extend these down. And round the top. So change it to Bezier. And adjust the handles to match the drawing. Actually, we want the shape to be larger than the inner frame, just slightly. This way we're making sure there will be no parts of the wall visible through the door frame. Right, the exact shape doesn't matter too much. So let's leave it like that. And let's extrude the shape. Alright, check from perspective. And let's cut it out right here. Interesting that the extrude worked this way. Doesn't look right. I'm gonna recreate the walls with box. It shouldn't have filled the inside of the walls. Well, instead of hunting down the glitch, I'm gonna redo the walls. I'm just gonna insert these polys here. Like this. and bridge them. Right, that's better. And now we can use the Boolean tools to cut out our door. Okay, so compound objects, pro Boolean, and start picking. And there's the door. Right? Now let's rotate the room like this and move over here to cut out the windows. Okay, so for windows, I'm going to create a simple box. Snap to these outer corners. And let's extend it down and copy over here. Okay, check from perspective. Okay, let's scale them larger so they are wider than the wall. Looks good, and let's cut them out. It's nice. And finally rotate the room like this. And move over here. So that's our last window. Let's make another box. Move through the wall and cut. Right. So that's the basic room. Let's move it back to the plan view. Alright, close enough. Let's convert it to editable poly. Okay, great. Now let's make the cornice. Actually, it looks like there's a bit of a mistake here. Oh, there's a part of the wall that's supposed to go out a bit. It looks like we need to create it separately anyways, because the inner part is on the same level as the original wall. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the line tool to trace a shape like this. Okay. Rotate it 90 degrees and move to the wall. Right, and let's extrude it out with the modifier. So something like this. Right. And let's move it 90 centimeters from the ground. Because it's a bit confusing working like this, because for some reason my plan is in the front viewport, not in the top viewport as it should be. So all the viewports are messed up, and the front is actually the top. Left is actually some sort of rotated by 90 degrees. Right, and top is upside down. So let's fix that. Let's unhide all. Let's unfreeze all the layers. Go to the top view, actually go to the front view, select all, and rotate. Minus 90 degrees. Okay, perfect. A bit too much. And 5% back. 5 degrees. It's a bit slow to rotate so many objects. Let's just undo that and enter the value manually. Okay, so minus 90 degrees on the x-axis. Okay, that's perfect. Alright, so now it looks like it should. Except for the island, which for some reason is upside down. Well, let's just flip it on the z-axis. And move up like this. Right. Okay. It's good. Let's make the cornice now. Let's freeze the plants, the profiles, the 3D. And in the line tool, trace a shape like this. The cornice will go around this extension. Okay, let's draw the profile. Alright, so it's something like this. Just the shape, so it looks right. I'm going to increase the interpolation steps to make the line smoother. Okay, that looks good. And now select the line. And use the bevel profile modifier to create the cornice. Okay, and again I have to rotate it 180 degrees in either direction. Okay, so what we have here is capped object. We want to disable the caps. So we can leave the end cap in place. It's going to be our ceiling. And just move up. Just like that. Alright, so I'm gonna assign a new material placeholder to this part. Name it ceiling. Set the color to white and assign. Also, let's create a new material placeholder for the walls. Let's leave them at something beige for now. I'm probably gonna change that later. Okay, so like that. Now let's create the skirting board. Right, I'm gonna snap onto these outside vertices of the door and of these windows that extend onto the floor. Okay, and end it here. The rest will be covered with the cabinets, and you won't see the skirting board there. And so now select your line and go to your segments and delete the ones that are going over the windows or over the doors. And I'll trace the skirting board profile. Okay. Now I'm going to chamfer this a bit. Okay, let's select our line and use bevel profile to create the skirting board. I'm going to create a symbol camera just to check how the room looks from the inside. Let's make it wider, like 16 millimeters, so we can see the whole thing. So it looks like we need to close the caps on the skirting board. Okay, and since these options don't work here, let's use the cap holes modifier instead. Okay, perfect. Now let's assign a material placeholder for the skirting board as well. Let's name it trim. Okay, looks good. Now we need to make the windows and the doors themselves. Okay, let's start with the door, since it's the most complicated piece here. Right, I'm gonna unfreeze the plans. Enable snap. And trace 1/2 of the door outline. Now adjust the shape to match the drawing. Alright, let's increase interpolation steps. Okay, that's good. Let's mirror this thing. Make a copy. Set the mirror axis to X. And let's freeze the plans for now. Right, now let's attach these lines together. Well, the center point, since we want this to be one continuous line. And make a quick profile for the board or the frame. Okay. Something simple like this. Maybe round one of these corners. Okay. And give a light chamfer to all the other ones. Okay, let's reset them to corner type so they get chamfered evenly. Right, like that. And now I use the bevel profile again to quickly make the frame. It looks good. I think the line should have a bit smoother rounding, so let's set the interpolation steps to 24. And that looks good. Let's bring this part slightly upwards. Right, like that. So that's good. And let's create the door now. Actually, let's create these little blocks first. Simple box and chamfer it. Like that. And let's proceed with the door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my original line here. I'm going to copy it, press Ctrl V, make a copy. And let's delete the bevel profile. Okay, like that. And so let's hide this main part. Okay, now use the create line tool. Snap. Hold shift to make a straight line down. Enable back snap and snap to this vertex. Okay, I'm gonna make an instance down to check what's going on here. And weld these corners together. Right, so let's delete that. Let's select the original, select the whole line, and using the outline tool, offset it inwards. Oh, looks like we forgot to weld the vertices over here. Right, try again. And so it looks like we need to fix the shape manually. It sometimes happens and using the outline tool. So something like this should work fine. Right. So let's extrude the shape, like by 4 centimeters. Make a copy, delete the extrude, and delete the outer line. Let's make a profile here on the inside to hold the glass. And let's round this part. Okay. Chamfer the sharp corners. And using bevel profile. Let's extend the profile all around the door. Alright, and then rotate 180 degrees. So it looks upside down. Actually, no, it works correctly. Let's move it up. I think we could scale it a bit larger. Just select the profile sub-object and scale it up like this. And maybe let's move it a bit like this. Okay, it's good. Let's isolate. Okay, from the front view, a bit too large maybe, and add symmetry modifier. Over here, change the axis to Y, actually to Z, and move it up like this. So now the profile is on both sides of the door. Looks good. Let's make the divisions. Okay, so let's unhide all first. And for the divisions, I'm going to use a simple profile. Not too big. Okay, rotate it vertically and extrude. Maybe let's make it a bit larger. Alright, Shift plus rotate, and let's make the horizontal parts now. Make sure you set it to copy instead of instance. And reduce the extrusion amount. Okay, let's leave them in one plane and move them downwards like this. Looks like they're upside down. So let's mirror them on the z-axis. Right, and now we just need to create the glass. I'm gonna draw a very rough shape. It doesn't matter since it will go inside the frame and the border will not be seen. So something like this. Extrude by 5 millimeters. And move over here. So that's the glass. Let's assign the glass material. Okay. Actually, let's select all and assign the wood material. And then assign the glass material to this part only. Right. Let's fix the mapping. Let's start with this part here, the frame. Let's give these polys a vertical map. Rotate it to fit. perfect. Actually, let's go down to edit poly modifier and add these polys to the selection. Alright, so that's better. Add another edit poly. Invert your poly selection. And let's use a horizontal map for these. And that's good. Let's fix the mapping on this block here. Make it vertical. And drag and drop the map on this other block. Maybe let's move it like this. Right now on the door frame itself. Let's add edit poly. And we need to slice in some detail. Use the slice plane. Move it upwards here. And slice. Okay, and another slice on this side here. And slice. Right. Let's add another edit poly. Select all these vertical polygons. Let's use a vertical UV map. One more edit poly. Invert your poly selection and assign a horizontal map. Just like that. Okay, so that's good. Now for these cross sections. Right. That looks good. Let's group the door together. And mirror it to the other side. Okay. Now let's change the mapping a bit, so it's not perfectly the same. The central part looks a bit weird with this mirrored pattern. Okay, it's better. And close the group. Let's ungroup it and group the whole thing together. Right, I'm gonna rotate it vertical and position in the room. Okay, let's open it up. So the frame should be deeper. Let's move these vertices in. Add another edit poly to reset the selection and add the symmetry modifier. So that's the frame. Let's move the door inwards as well. Right. Looks good. Now for the windows. Let's start with the simple line for the frame. Convert that little spline and outline inwards. Like this. Okay, and let's extrude it. Well, let's say 8 centimeters. Okay, now let's make a rectangle. Like this. Let's draw a profile for it. And chamfer these corners. Right. So let's use bevel profile. Let's scale it a bit larger. Okay, so let's make a simple profile here. Chamfer the sharp corners. And extrude. I'm just gonna convert it to editable poly and adjust the vertices. It's gonna be quicker. Alright. Let's move it up. And a simple profile for these cross sections. Chamfer corners and rotate like this. And let's collapse to editable poly. Okay. And make a horizontal copy. So like that. And finally make a box for the glass. Okay, let's assign some materials. And fix the mapping. Right, let's unfreeze the frame. Let's collapse it to editable poly. and connect the corners. And finally chamfer the long edges. Add a UV map. Edit poly and another UV map. Right, let's group this part together. And Shift plus Move to make a copy to the right. Let's open the group and change the mapping a bit. Like that. Even though changing the mapping is a little detail, but it can bring a lot of realism to the scene. All these little details, they add up. Okay, let's group the whole thing together. Make a copy to the right. And position them in the room. I'm gonna unfreeze the cabinet layer and I'm gonna scale the island slightly thinner. Looks a bit too large in the room. Looks fine in the plan, but in the room, slightly too large. Alright, that's good. And finally, one last window before the room is finished. Actually, we don't have a floor as well. Let's make the floor. Just a regular box here. let's go back to our window. So here it is. I'm going to modify this window here. Alright, let's scale it maybe smaller. And use edit poly modifier to adjust the size. Make these a bit wider. Okay, copy to the right. And change the mapping a bit. Okay, close the group. Create a rectangle like this. And I'm gonna give it a rectangular profile. Right. Move it down slightly. And collapse editable poly. Chamfer edges. Mapping. And mapping for the vertical parts. Perfect. So the window is ready, let's group it. And position in place. Okay, looks good. Looks like our ceiling is inside out. Let's use the normals fix that. Actually, I want to make some adjustments to it. Since it's a planar geometry, there might be some glitches from the sunlight going through it, so I'm gonna fix it by selecting the outline, extruding it up. Doesn't matter how much, as long as it's higher than the ceiling, and cap it. So now it's a closed shape, and it shouldn't let any light or glitches through it. Okay, so it's a good idea in general to use something like a box for the ceiling or the floor, just to make sure there are no glitches in your renders. Right, so the room is ready. Now we just have to position our kitchen cabinets, add some finishing touches to them.